Coral in the Caribbean. First, what is coral? Coral is a sedentary colinterate of warm and tropical seas. With a calcareous, horny, or soft skeleton, most corals are colonial, and they rely on the presence of green algae in their tissues to obtain energy from the sunlight. So that means yes, coral is alive, coral is an animal, and coral is also vitally important to the further development and conservation of our planet. Coral is one of the most important living parts of our oceans. It protects our coastlines from the damaging effects of waves and tropical storms. It provides a habitat and shelter for many, many marine organisms. And it's the source of nitrogen and other essential nutrients for the marine food chain. However, there is one major issue. Coral reefs are dying all throughout the world at an alarmingly fast rate. Corals are being bleached by the sun and losing their algae that soaks up the sun's rays and gives them life as well as the rest of the ecosystem around them. Coral bleaching is inevitable in the world that we live in today. It happens, it's going to keep happening, but we have the ability to try and slow down the process that is killing off one of the most beautiful environments in our world. Coral bleaching, as defined by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is when corals are stressed by changes in conditions such as temperature, light, or nutrients, and they then expel the symbiotic algae living in their tissues, causing them to turn completely white. And as we see from this map, or from this diagram right here, we have the healthy coral on the left full of that algae, and then as we move towards the right, we see completely bleached and vulnerable coral that has no algae left and can no longer reproduce. This picture right here shows just how fast the bleaching process can be. Going from December 2014 to August 2015, 8 months and the coral is dead. It's unbelievable. This picture here is a bleaching event that took place in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, showing just the severity and the total mileage that it took place. It was a crazy distance that this bleaching event took place. And as we can see from these two maps right here, coral bleaching is a very serious event and is at its largest extent in the South Pacific throughout Indonesia and Australia. However, as we can see from the right-hand side of the bottom map, there is also a lot of coral bleaching that is taking place in the Caribbean. Now, throughout the years, coral bleaching in the Caribbean has been very up and down. It hasn't actually been studied that much, but since 1983, they've been putting a lot more effort into the studying of coral bleaching in the Caribbean. And as we can see from this map, the majority of the observed coral bleaching observations took place from 1997 to 2003, mostly along the coast of Belize and Mexico, and down into the Greater and Lesser Antilles, right around Puerto Rico as well. Now, one way that we can protect coral reefs that we still have left is by helping them along the growth process after bleaching effects have already taken place. One way to do that is to build a coral farm or nursery. Now, I had the chance to research and start the beginning stages of implementing a coral nursery with Dr. Ron on Saba. Basically, what a nursery would do is it would take coral that has fallen off the reef due to natural causes, i.e. an anchor or human contact, possibly a storm, and we would take those pieces of coral, string them up on this PVC pipe tree, and allow them to go to a much more calm part of the water to grow and mature, in order so that once they are fully mature and ready to reproduce, you can use an epoxy to glue them back onto the reef where they can hopefully rejuvenate that entire reef. So then the question must be asked, what can we do to help? Well, here are some easy steps that we can take in order to make a difference. 1, conserve water. The less runoff we have in our oceans, the healthier the marine life will be. 2, help reduce pollution. Now this is a big one because the less fossil fuels we burn and emissions that we put into the air, the less of an impact that we're going to have on our ozone. And global warming and the depletion of our ozone is one of the main reasons that coral bleaching takes place, because the sun can more easily come through the ozone and get to the coral, causing it to be bleached quicker. So if we reduce our pollution output, we should have a greater intake of coral as well. 3, support reef-friendly businesses. Be sure that every time you go diving or out onto the reef, that the operators of that trip know exactly what they're doing, and they're treating the environment correctly and sustainably. And lastly, spread the word. Most people do not realize the importance coral plays in our everyday lives. Share the word and get more people on the boat to save the corals.